Okay. Good evening. The time is 6:04, and we'll start the May 12, 2022 special Oak Park Board of Education meeting. Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Cochran. Here. Alvin.
Here.
Goodfriend.
Present.
Hoda.
Here.
Klein. Lunkins.
Here.
And Smith.
Here.
You see the agenda which was sent to us earlier. I would, however, like for us to think about moving public comment up to 4. Do you have any comments? No comments. Although there really isn't anyone. I wanted to move it up to give people a chance to comment before we got to the selection of the superintendent piece, if there was any comments to be had. But there aren't any, so we can leave it, but the point is, by the time someone will make a comment, we will already made a decision. So that's why I wanted to move it up. There's no one here to comment anyway.
Right.
So, Trustee Corcoran.
Just suggesting, is it possible, like, we could have, like, thought that out before we put that on the agenda, like, if we...
No.
Oh.
No, he was doing it in consideration.
Oh, gotcha. Well, no, I was saying, like, next time, you know, if we think about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it made sense. I mean, but I truth be told, I knew what we had to do today. I just didn't see it. So, but yeah, it makes sense. We can just leave it where it is. Obviously, no one's here to comment, so I'm not going to worry about it. If there's no objection, we can handle the approval of the agenda by unanimous consent. Are there any objections to approving the agenda by unanimous consent? Hearing none, then the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. We go to consent agenda. If everyone is taking a look at the minutes, just seeing if there are any concerns with the consent agenda, that's something might need to come up. Trustee Goodfriend.
Yes, I noticed that there's only an option for 2 names other than, that was not a decision of the board.
We're at consent agenda though.
She's talking about the memo, the draft memo.
The
Yeah,
minutes.
that was
but that's
just,
just
that
a
was
draft.
not anything but a draft. We could, if we want to take 7, we can. I
That's
don't
fine.
advise it,
That's
but we
fine.
could. But, yeah, it's
I
it was
don't want
just a draft.
7, but that's fine.
I don't think
We'll try for 8.
I don't think any of us want 7 at this point. But in any case, is there, so we're on the consent agenda. Are there any issues with consent agenda? If not, we can also approve by unanimous consent unless there are any objections to doing so on the consent agenda. Any objections? Hearing none, we will approve the consent agenda by unanimous consent. We will go to selection of finalists for superintendent of Oak Park Schools. And you want to?
Sure.
So we didn't move it. We just left it because we didn't have it.
What do you ask the people that's here?
What are we mumbling about?
Sorry?
The people that's here?
I'm asking if we want to move
He
public
asked-
comment
he asked
before we
already.
discuss that.
Yeah, I asked at the time.
I think so. I think
Did
it's
you
very
want to make any
important
comments?
what Comments are made.
I will make some comments, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
I didn't see her.
Well, I was asking for a specific reason, but
I didn't see.
it's okay. We already
I
approved
thought
the agenda anyway.
Tyler was just still here. I
Yeah,
didn't see her.
Tyler was on.
She
one.
said
Yeah.
she doesn't want to make any comments. So we'll go right to selection of finalists for superintendent of Oak Park Schools. Do you want to jump in here now, Mr. Silveri?
Just briefly, we talked about it yesterday, but just to repeat, we'll go down the line, one member of the board at a time, give you the opportunity to speak to which of the 7 candidates you interviewed you would like to now continue to consider and look more closely at. You can share their names and speak to why you would like to move them forward. What I want to really stress is you're free to say whatever you'd like to in support. What we want to avoid is making comments about other candidates in opposition. We never want to disparage anybody publicly, so we're not going to speak in opposition to anyone. Even if you hear somebody else speak in favor and you're thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I don't want that candidate, you're going to ultimately speak with your vote, right? So you don't need to speak in opposition. In favor. The only other thing I'll throw out there is just a reminder too, this is just determining which candidates you want to continue to consider You will not have made a decision yet. And what you want to consider all along is to be careful not to fall into the trap of seeking perfection, because the perfect candidate will never walk through the door. I've done a lot of these searches, I haven't seen it anywhere, right? But you still want to make sure that you do find somebody that you feel like has the skills, abilities, experience, everything that's needed to be highly successful here. So you're not looking for perfection, but you are looking for excellence.
I have a question. At what time is it best that a board member contacts a reference? Is that usually done before the second round, or usually done in the second round?
Well, you can count on me to be checking references for you. If you have folks that you would like to reach out to, you're welcome to do so. What I would ask of you, though, to be helpful so that we're not bombarding people, is that if you have had a conversation with someone, let me know that, just so that I'm not then going ahead and kind of pestering those same people. And that would give me the opportunity to reach out even to others that haven't already been contacted, just to widen the scope.
Okay, because I have some concerns before we even get started, based on the fact that there were, some things that arose, and some board members or the board had contacted some references prior to the actual second round. And also, with that being said, as a board, I thought we have a consensus of who would contact who, or, who would be that designated person, because again, as you even said the word bombard, we would bombard those references. And so those are like some deep concerns with me, because at this point, I'm not comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, commonly the protocol is you would leave the formal reference checks to your consultant, which would be me. But if you know of folks, if you happen to have connections, you know people who might have knowledge of the candidates, and you are comfortable reaching out to them, I look at that a little bit differently, and I think that's absolutely fine.
Okay. Trustee Gorman, you good?
We'll see. Yeah,
Okay, all right. So, with that then, with everything Mr. Silveri just noted as a lens, is there anyone that wants to get the process rolling by noting their top candidates? That we should move forward to
I mean,
round two.
it becomes kind of difficult because, again, like I said, there have been some contacts, and we as a board didn't know until just recently that these contacts were made to the references. So, if I knew that we could do such a thing, I would have probably did the same, but I didn't know that. I thought it was a protocol to how we do business, and I feel that that protocol was not followed. So I don't know, but Mr. Silveri did state that, usually he's the person that does it, and I just want to know if we're talking to the references, why are we only talking to those that we want to talk to versus, based on whatever information that we receive as a board, why is every candidate not contacted based on what information we received?
Why is every candidate not contacted?
Or the candidates that we received information on, every one of those candidates that we received information on was not contacted. Only one candidate references were contacted.
Well, that may not be the case. I mean, I don't know what any individuals have done, but what I can say is, at least from my side, can't speak for everybody. I don't know what individuals have done, but if you got a relationship with somebody, or you know somebody, and you reach out, that's up to you.
I'll add this. How this works is when we bring the applications to you initially, when you met in closed session, we will have done some background checks just based on networking and internet searches, and without contacting references, because the candidates still have an expectation of confidentiality. Right. Once you select, which you did, you selected 7 people. I begin at that point, usually there's kind of a tight timeline, but I begin reaching out and making some initial contacts, And what I'm really looking for at that point is, are there any red flags that come up that I need to put on your radar to consider before you make a decision on final candidates?
Right.
So I have done some initial reference checks, but I don't want to make a false claim as if it's been a deep dive. In a couple of instances where there have been some things raised, I did follow up because of that too, and went a little bit further. What happens when you select finalists is that then I do a much deeper dive. And I, trust me, not only contact the references that the people list in their applications, but of course you go beyond that, as you do anytime I think you're in a hiring process, right? So,
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, based on the information that we're receiving and the information that one of the board members, when they made their contact, at this point, I don't know who to believe because I haven't had the opportunity to research myself. So that's where I stand.
Got it. So I would say handle your decision accordingly.
Yeah, I just, I
Because
was,
I haven't talked to you anyway.
All right,
well, that's
I wanna
okay.
make my-
Just-
No, no,
Okay.
I'm just saying.
no reason
The
to.
reason that I didn't was because I wanted to make my own decisions
That's right.
and not their decision or their opinion.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So,
I felt to go with my own opinion.
but we usually do that in the second round, not usually the first round as well.
Well, you know, again, we start with some begin reference checks early on, once you identify the 7 candidates. And normally I try to reach out and contact 1 or 2 people at least that I think might know the candidate well and can give me a heads up. The question I normally ask those people is there anything about this candidate that should give the Oak Park Board pause when they're considering this person for their superintendent? If the answer is yes, and I hear something of concern, I pass that on to you even before you vote, like you're going to do tonight.
Well, that would be expected.
Exactly, right. So the fact that that hasn't happened means with the folks that I've reached out to and contacted, I've heard no such thing yet. I will go further once you identify finalists, and I'll take that much further with the same kind of rule of thumb. If I'm hearing positive things in support, great. If I hear anything that should be cause for concern for you, you will hear that from me.
Thank you.
Sure.
all right. Trustee Hutter?
Mr. Silveri, in your experience, is it unusual for board members to reach out to their networks to find out information about candidates in the first round?
Well, I mean, the key to that is their networks, right? And again, I go back to, if there are people that you have connections with, personal relationships with, and you feel comfortable reaching out to them, that's okay. As long as what it doesn't morph into is that you take it upon yourselves to go through kind of doing the formal reference checks, which is something that you want to typically leave to the consultant.
All right.
It just seemed a little improper. That was the only reason why I brought it up, because I have been, again, getting more and more educated on process and procedure. And I just thought, from what I was hearing, that you come in first, then once we get the second, then that's when we pretty much take it from there.
I will say this, I don't see harm in having a board member reach out to somebody else. The part of it that would concern me, again, is if we inadvertently end up pestering people by, numerous people from Oak Park are calling them, asking the same questions.
Thank you.
That we don't want to fall into, but otherwise, I don't see any harm done. If you know somebody, you've reached out to them, they've expressed their opinion, and put that on your radar. I would hope the same thing would hold true of all of you, though. If you do have that conversation and something comes to your attention that's of concern, that you would share that with your colleagues, so everybody has this, and me, so everybody has that same information.
So thank you for that. So, Trustee Corcoran, he stated that it's okay, it's permissible, and to his
Yeah, he
last,
stated it was,
to his last point, it was shared with the rest of the board. So,
but it's not usual common.
and moving forward, is there anyone here who wants to kick off the process in any way? But thank you, Trustee Goodfriend, let's go.
Mr. Salveri, is it proper to use a person's name?
At this point, absolutely,
Okay,
yes, it
thank you.
is.
So, we were saying, who you like and
Yes.
for the next round and who you want to hear more from in the next round and why, if you got it.
Thank you.
Yep.
I would like to invite Angel, Abra, Dula, Ad into the next round.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else, or is that it for you?
No,
That was it?
I'll edit for the others, there's 6 more folks.
Gotcha, okay. Trustee Hood. I see you.
Okay, 2 people, Dr. Parcell and, Angel. I can't pronounce the last name from
Abdullah
below,
Head.
Angel.
Abdullah Head. Okay. You had your hand up. Okay, Trustee Smith.
Okay, I had both,
Reading these comments.
yes, I had both Dr. Michael Carruthers and I had both, and also Dr. Sean Black.
Okay. Trustee Harden.
So the 2 that I have, and Mr. Solari asked us to give some explanation. So the 2 that I have are Dr. Abdulahad and Mr. Abdulahad and Dr. Pastel. And the reason for that is that in looking at the interviews, I think for me, all 7 were people that I think would be wonderful additions to Oak Park. They were all people who I think, and I don't think I could say that in any of the previous superintendent searches that we've done. But superintendent is a specific skill set, it's a specific role. And what we said in our candidate profile is we want someone who's a change agent that is able to build on existing successes and strengths while leading the district through continuous growth and improvement. And to me, that's not something any one individual can do. No one can have all the ideas that it's going to take. No one can do all the things that it's going to take. It's about someone who has that leadership ability to engage others and inspire them to the work that we need to do. And I think in terms of that, both Mr. Abdulahad and Dr. Pastel have demonstrated in their experience, in their interviews, that they have those capabilities and that experience. Also, when it comes to budgeting, which is a very big part of the job of the superintendent, to me, they were really the only 2 that demonstrated a real sense of what creating a budget is involved. And so that's why, for me, those 2 stood out from the rest, and those are the 2 I would like to move forward, Dr. Pastel and Mr. Abdulahad.
Trustee Corcoran.
I can say that it was very stressful for a sister like me, because they all brought all their talent, their passion, their drive for the students, and it was very tough. I mean, this one here was, I got gray hair, but I think it's gonna be full by the time we're done.
You got a few extras? Got a few extras?
Yes. And I can't stress this enough. Education is very important, and I know that, we're getting to the point where there's a lot of shortage everywhere. So it is an honor for Oak Park to actually be able to have a choice to make out of 32 candidates, and I have to stress that as well. And it was really hard. I tell you, I was looking at everything, and what stood out to me the most was Dr. Pastel and now, do I say each name and then, or just go back, or do I, once I say why, once I say that
You
person?
can do them one at a time if you're more comfortable,
Okay.
sure.
Well, Dr. Pastel, of course, again, I don't know any of these candidates, but I know of them for being a parent here in Oak Park and attending Oak Park myself. And I know during a certain year in Oak Park, we were just, such a family. And when Dr. Pastel spoke in regards to receiving not just her master's, but her PhD right here with the program that she took advantage of. And then if you look at the resume, it shows how she just continued to excel with difficult challenges. But she spoke on yesterday how those challenges she overcame. And it shows that definitely she is, as she stated out of her mouth, she has a passion for what she's doing. She spoke in regards to the programs that she's built. One of those programs that she spoke on, it's the one where they collab with the WCM building, which is a training center, the UAW Training Center. And that training center, back 5 years ago, had the programs to offer to these schools. Oak Park was one, but Oak Park denied it. However, Hazel Park is the only school that's being used by that program, which is the skilled trades program. And I happened to ask the trainer, the director of that program, would Oak Park be able to do this again? She stated no. She said Hazel Park is going to be it and they're done. So to know that Dr. Postel also spoke about how she even was able to go and communicate with other skilled trade teachers to help out, you know, with these programs for these students. And I'm not going to be too long. And when she spoke about, she spoke about the high expectations in regards to, oh, I know I was going to talk about the finance, remind me.
Okay.
So she also talked about the high expectations for all. And she did not leave out not one individual of who she touched or worked with. And she constantly said how she works as a team. She didn't, you know, just work alone. And when it comes to changes, like, you know, because at this point right now, Oak Park has changed, right? And she spoke in regards about how she's able to adapt with the changes and create the changes. And the last thing I was going to say was, when it came to the questions about finance, because she works directly with the superintendent, she was able to speak about the budget of which she knew about. So it seems as if every question that was given or asked, she was able to highly qualifiedly answer those questions. And then my other one, yeah, it was a $4.9 million budget, and she talked about going to the zero budgets, but that was that. And then the other candidate was Dr. Shackelford. And Dr. Shackelford, he had a passion for the children as well, and he came, in the time, you know, he was a principal, it was back during the time I knew Dr. Hantrail. Dr. Hantrail was a well-known principal at the time, and he spoke very gracefully in regards to you know, the movement of the, you know, superintendent, meaning him wanting to be the superintendent, and, you know, how he actually branched off to another state, and how he was able to compare, you know, where we are to where he was, and then when he called the children his babies, that brought me back to remembering one of the superintendents that we had that always said, "Those are my babies." And, you know, that gave me the thought that when you say those are your babies, you care about your babies. The other person that I would love to have come back is Derek Kellum. Not just because Derek Kellum is also an alumni of Oak Park, but he also have been connected with Oak Park And he spoke in regards to, oh, I'm sorry, I ain't got that paper. But he spoke in regards to the passion for children as well, and how he told the truth in regards to not having the experience, but, wanting to learn, willing to open to learn certain things. So those are my features.
We got Postel, Shackelford, and Kellum.
I'm sorry.
Postel, Shackelford,
Yes.
and Kellum. Okay, got you. Trustee Klein.
Thank you. First of all, I want to apologize. I don't mean any disrespect. I know I walked in a few minutes late today. I had to deal with a family matter, and I appreciate everybody's understanding. Okay. We had a very impressive slate, and I really appreciate everybody who came in. I'm sure that everybody else here has echoed that. I guess it's an echo when I'm saying it because I'm saying it afterwards. There were 3 people who really stood out to me, and the way that I view this process, really top down and from the beginning, was in terms of people who were talent for the actual role, and talent for inspiring other people as well, leadership and personal ability. And there are some jobs that require more one than the other. If you have, for example, a cardiovascular surgeon, you would hope that that person is the best at heart surgery, maybe even more so than his ability to inspire other people to do so. Whereas if you need somebody to be a motivational speaker, you would like her to be the best at inspiring others, even if she can't necessarily perform that surgery herself. But in the role of a superintendent, you really need both. You need to be able to perform all the functions directly well, and also obviously inspire the entire district. So those are the 2 things, and obviously each one of them has their broken down criteria, but those were the main focuses. And I found it very interesting that I found one candidate who really personified both of those, and then I found one candidate who I felt really hit both, like at the top of the game. So Dr. Sean Black, who we interviewed on the first day, is the Assistant Superintendent of K-8 schools in Detroit Public Schools, in which capacity he oversees 23 schools with almost 10,000 kids on average. It's kind of like being a superintendent in 2 Oak Parks already, and his entire track record was coming in somewhere and exceeding expectations, especially scholastically. I didn't see anything about him that I didn't like. I felt like in terms of the numbers, in terms of doing the actual job, he was right on the nose, and he had great executive, on-point experience and proven results. It was very, very impressive to me. The next day we heard from Dr. Shackelford, or Mr. Shackelford, I would have messed it up. Apologize. Mr. Shackelford.
JD.
Say JD, he went to law school, but he was smart enough to not practice law. I say that as a lawyer. It's a classic lawyer joke. Mr. Shackelford, not that he was in any way subpar in terms of his results and the numbers in the actual job, but what stuck out to me about Dr. Shackelford was his ability to inspire. He had us all enthralled with every answer, and it was terrific. Even where I didn't necessarily see directly on-point experience and exactly what I wanted, I was taken by the way that he presented his care for the children directly. He talked about going outside and being at the bus in the morning, and every parent, and knowing every student, and knowing his students from back in the day. It was a fantastic presentation. I thought that guy can inspire this district, and that's terrific. And then came day 3. And we heard from Mr. Angel Abdullahad. Glad I got his name right today. I couldn't seem to do it yesterday. And this guy took me away, just entirely, on both sides of the equation. His love for the students, he said the word love just as many times as Dr. Black said the word data. And yet he also talked about data. He was dropped into a very similar district as a superintendent in 2019 from a principalship, and then hit it out of the park in 3 weeks so much that his board just dropped him in there, and then he took a $1.5 million deficit. So while he's inspiring and grabbing us all in, and all of his students and all of his people love him, and he's got 3 years of basically, like, people prepare to be a superintendent. If we were to hire somebody who didn't have superintendent experience, that person would do a lot of homework over this summer, talk to a lot of people. It takes a lot of build-up. It's a big job. I'm pretty confident that he didn't have an opportunity to do any of that, at least not before he took the reins. He was a principal, and then they said, hey, we need a superintendent, you now. And I don't think that there's any way to make a control group to test for that. Anything that comes up, I am confident that Mr. Abdullah can handle that challenge, and can handle it inspiringly, and can also handle it in an objective basis by getting the job done. He inspired me even when he was talking about line-by-line budgets. The way that he was talking about board communication. Also, the way that he was talking about hanging out with kids. It's not even a joke. I left there and I thought, man, I have to get this guy to meet my kids whether we hire him or not. I would like to sit down and meet with this guy and just get his thoughts on how to better inspire students and people, whether we hire. I was going to call him, but I didn't know if that was proper. I figured we should probably wait until the end of the session. But so those are my three. Those are my three. If I had to number them, I would say Mr. Abdulahad is absolutely my number one. And then Dr. Black would be my number 2, and Mr. Shackelford would be my number 2B. I wouldn't even put him in number 3, I'd put him 2B.
Killing my grid here. Okay. I was just trying to keep up with what everyone selected. So I'll give mine. I have 2. It was a hard choice for me too to narrow it down to 2. I really had 3. My top 2 in no particular order for me were Mr. Abdulahad. I liked his passion, his experience. He's the only candidate right now who is currently doing the job of superintendent. As such, this would be considered sort of a lateral for him, even though there's more students here than there are where he is. Again, his passion not just for teaching, or not just for educating, I should say teaching, for educating youngsters, but his passion for our district. I saw that in not just in his words, but you can see it in his eyes when he talked. His initial plan, one of the things I think is one of the most, and I've said it over and over again if you ask me, but one of the most often overlooked aspects of leadership is listening. And one of the first things he would do is listen, meet with the students, the educators, the parents. I think he would make some inroads also with members of the Oak Park community. I think that's one of his things that he noted. I mean, he's got experience in that space. His communication style was obviously pretty good. Direct, funny at times, but direct. I like that as well. Again, his familiarity with the Oak Park School District is another thing for me. His ability to manage a budget in tough times, he indicated that. And if you looked at our public comments, at least the ones I was able to see, I think they reflect that that's a person that those some of our stakeholders in the community would like to hear more from him as well. My second is Carla Postel. I appreciate her communication style. The way, I appreciate the fact that she said over and over and over again about upfront, honest communication, forthright communication. I think she drilled that in my head. Last night, I think I left here saying it myself. That's, to me, what we need. I'm not saying we don't have it now. I'm not suggesting we don't have it now, but that's what we need also going forward. Her wealth and breadth of experience in the education world stuck out to me as well. Her 90-day plan, in which one of the first things she noted is to listen. Her ability to form partnerships for the betterment of her district. She noted, and I think Trustee Corcoran noted this as well, but she did that in order to bring vocational opportunities to the district that she's at now, where they didn't have that before. Her familiarity with the Oak Park School District. Her willingness and ability to increase AP offerings, which I think we need sorely here. I think, I know it's easier said than done, but it's still something that I think that our students should be challenged and let them rise to that challenge, because I know they're capable. And again, I'll cite public comments that I saw. In support of her. And so for that reason, those are my choices to move to round two. Any other comments from the board on this? Trustee Goodfriend.
I didn't do this without care, my decision-making. I am an Oak Parker, through and through. And that means I had 4 children that were raised in this district, who all had success at one time or another, even when there was failure. So we as a family had our ups and our downs. We had many successes. We had some of the children that needed more care. And they blossomed. They blossomed because of what we had for them, the offerings, not the money, the heart and soul of our instructors. And Dr. Angel, or Mr. Angel, shared his life here in Oak Park. And many of the names that he mentioned were dear friends of mine, who are now gone. I knew them well. Some were my children's teachers. But it was terribly important how he looks at children. That was important to me. The children are the key. They're the ones that we can mold and teach and show and respect and love them. And when I heard him say that he talks to kids, because they tell him, kids have no fear of not being honest. That's really an important part of leadership. And being everywhere and then some, very important to the leadership. And the respect that the families will be able to provide to our leader. So Dr. Pustel was exceptional. Dr. Pustel also was an alumni of the staff here. I did not really know her. I knew of her. But this man took my breath away. He took something that I've looked for a long time. And I know, in one, we don't have to teach him about budgets. He can teach us a thing or two about budgets. I like line items, as some of you know. They're terribly important, and they have answers in those lines and meaning. And does that mean that I would direct them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I have confidence that we can have financial successes to continue. I have confidence that the job will be done for our kids, and that's the main goal, is our kids can leave here with success, whether it's a 4-year institution or an 8-year institution or a 2-year. Training is very important. And the success that they can have as an apprenticeship and going into a journeyman. My family is made up of professionals with degrees and law degrees as well, and teaching degrees as well. And I'm very proud of all that we have in the family. But I'm also proud of my tradesmen and my family. And that came about through the encouragement of a district that performed to give the opportunities. And that gentleman has the courage and the excitement, not just for me, not just for the parents, but the students. The most important thing is the students. To give them courage, to help them pursue their way in life. And that's why I only gave one. I did like, my second choice was Dr. Purcell. However, for a lot of reasons, he is Mr. Oak Park again. And that's really important. Furthermore, today, even though I work every day for 8 hours, the phone calls were monumental from the community. Leaders in the community, volunteers in the community that called me and left me emails was something extraordinary I haven't seen in a long time. And hope. Thank you.
Okay, trustee Smith?
Yeah, I didn't get to speak. Even though I mentioned the candidates, I didn't get to speak to them. So, yeah, I thought we were just naming them out.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
You're supposed to give your rationale.
Yeah. So my first, choice was the Dr. Michael Carruthers. Dr. Carruthers indicated, and he is that unique candidate because of the fact, the variety of school districts he's led. Him having the capability of running a $2 million budget, when we asked him those questions in regards to his expertise in finances. Carruthers excelled in both developing culture and climate within the different school districts. His expertise in educational, professional development workshops, his position as director of curriculum. Even though we mentioned our top ads, what we wanted, what were the added values, he's met this criteria in different areas with the exception of being a superintendent, or a sup. So that experience. He was a graduate of Michigan Leadership Institute. His certification is secondary in Central Office Administration, a PhD in Educational Leadership and Policy. I mean, he's taught PhD candidates. He's actually pushed for PhD candidates. One who actually spoke up, another one who actually wrote a letter, but these are people that would come out, either, in regards for Dr. Carruthers. Dr. Carruthers has a huge following, so people will come out of retirement to come and work with Dr. Carruthers. He's been authors of school improvement plans and curriculum frameworks. He has love and passion for children, and, he gave us some examples about his caring for pushing the children to read, so we have the third grade, what's that third grade initiative where our children have to read, so, he's been,
3-book club.
there you go.
3-book club.
Three book clubs, yes, and thank you very much. And I just think he would be a value add. He wants this, Dr. Carruthers is one of the candidates I feel that would want to make Oak Park his own, long term. And I was looking for that. There was a passion there for, his willingness to lead this district. So that was my first. I'm going to piggyback with Joseph Klein, with Trustee Klein. He actually said everything he did, in regards to Dr. Black, and I'm not going to speak to more any of that, though. I thought Dr. Black was an outstanding candidate. He too is another person that would bring, value add to this district, with others following his lead. So keep that in mind. But I will say, my third was Dr. Abdullah. He wowed me as well. I have to give it to him. He made me think over here as well. But I don't want to take him out of the equation. I did like him, but my first top twos was Dr. Carruthers and Dr. Black. Thank you.
Oh, the reason that I chose Dr. Purcell and Angel, because I can't pronounce his last name, was the fact that they were both transparent. They didn't hide it. They wasn't hiding anything. And every time they spoke about different organizations and different groups, they did not hide anything. They were always transparent. And when Dr. Angel spoke about, going out and asking the kids what to do, instead of asking the adult what to do. I mean, I was all for that because I have been in situations where kids have come to me, just sitting there, casually conversation, and you find out what is important and what is not important, what is needed and what is not as needed. And it both seems to be on the same thing. The only difference with Dr. Angel is that Dr. Angel had a sense of humor that would go along with what he did and what needs to be done. And I think with Dr. Pastel, I think with her, she has no reason whatsoever. I mean, she talks a lot, true enough, but she tells what she's learned, and not what other people have learned, what she has learned, and let them decide for themselves as to what they need to do. That's my opinion.
Okay, anything from any of the other trustees on this?
I promise it'll be just 10 seconds.
Go ahead.
Trustee Smith reminded me that one of the things that I loved the most about Mr. Abdullah is that he didn't seem like a candidate that we would have to worry about looking at Oak Park as a stepping stone. What he talked about, that he had no reason to leave Port Huron, but for the fact, not Port Huron, Madison Heights. We had another one for Huron, apologize.
Shack.
Right, thank you. He had no reason to leave Madison Heights, but for the fact that he was coming back here, and he kept calling it home. It could have been a play, but it didn't seem that way to me. It seemed like if he comes here, he's here for the long haul, unless the point scares him away or something. So.
Anything else?
I do.
Trustee Corcoran?
One thing I did not add in regards, well, there's several things, with Dr. Pastel.
Yeah.
If you all remember when she spoke about curriculum, that she had a passion about that. She also, she had a community, no, it was she developed a district protocol for the community, for the communication, which is all for teachers and administration. But what she did state because I was listening for the teacher-student, because you can't do one without the other. She did state how there was a step that was given to the teachers, which spoke a lot of volume to me because she was also her teacher. She became a teacher herself. And there was one more thing that I did. Oh, she spoke in regards to the newsletter, because of course she always said communication, listening. She couldn't stress that more than the data. She said communication, and I thought that was also great. She did speak about data. She was speaking about the data in regards to, I think it was the data, hold on, I'm trying to remember. It was the question in regards to culture and climate. And she spoke about looking at the data. And she didn't speak, I guess I would say, out of turn of what every question was asked. She stuck toward exactly what she's already doing. Like Ms. Goodfriend stated, we are going to need someone to come into this district just ready to go. And I know that she's working right next to the superintendent, which is, she gets to see and do everything that that superintendent of that district is needing. And also in her references, she even stated her boss, that we could call that, we can call that person. And also she spoke in regards to the K-12 experience in teaching the 6 to 12 and their curriculum. But again, I can't stress it that much because we are right now a failing district, and when you have a person speaking about curriculum, we're going to need that curriculum to be noticed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, I got one more. I got to speak to Dr. Carruthers herself too. And I find it, I find it, that it's just, it would be an injustice for me not to speak to his leadership skills in regards to just, okay, this is education, but just outside, those skill sets, I've seen, leadership skills, I've seen, negotiations and I've seen just, being able to work through tough times, with this educator. This is a passion. He has a stern passion. I believe parents would love Dr. Carruthers. Me being a parent, and I'm looking like, okay, what's best for my child? What would I want in a educator for my child being a parent in the district? And I think he has all those qualities, and I'm going to speak highly to him. I just want to just put that in there, because he informed that the district, the district is not. I don't consider this a broken district. We have a lot of things, and a lot of value adds to this district. I think some things are already in place. Do I actually feel that, to be an outstanding superintendent that you have, or for this district that they have to necessarily be a superintendent in impact? No, I don't feel that. I feel they have to be a leader, and I feel that people who will be willing to follow behind as leaders is what makes a leader. He listens. To be a good leader, you have to listen. And, I just wanted to inform and put that in there before we close out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from the board? Okay. Hearing none.
Okay, so can I jump in just for a
Please,
second?
go
Because
for
I
it.
promised I would do this. I was keeping track for you.
Yep.
So, and I just do want to say this, I won't go on too long, but I've done a lot of these searches, and it's remarkable and speaks to the quality of the candidate pool that you had, that 6 of the 7 candidates had at least one board member speak in support of advancing them. That honestly is unheard of. But it's a compliment to you because you attracted such high-quality candidates.
I like the 7th guy also.
Well, seriously, you had 7 really good candidates who all brought something to the table, all had some great things to offer, and, good for you. So that's fantastic. But, as we said before, you start with 7, you can't advance all 7. So in terms of the amount of support each candidate got, Dr. Carruthers, Kellum, those 2 each got 1 vote of support. Mr. Shackelford and Dr. Black each had 2 board members speak in support. Dr. Postel had 4 board members speak in support, and Mr. Abdullahad had 5 board members speak in support. So there is consensus already that's evident for 2 of the candidates, that being Mr. Abdullahad and Dr. Postel.
That's exactly the numbers that I had too. So that's how I was keeping track.
Good.
Well,
Can I make a motion that we,
You can.
may I have the floor to make a motion?
You can.
Okay, I'm going to move the Oak Park Board of Education offer second interviews to Angel Abdullahad and Dr., I want to make sure I say her name right, Carla Postel. Right here.
Is that the end of your motion?
Yes, that's the end of my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. Is there a question on the motion? Mr. Smith?
yeah. So if I do remember correctly, the last time I see you put that motion in there, man. Even though we spoke to these candidates individually and we listed the names, I don't feel that we voted, individually, in regards to those names. We mentioned those names, but we didn't take a consent, like a vote, because you wrote the names. But
I wrote the names too.
I can speak to that. So you're right. That was not a vote. It was just an expression
Right.
of preferences.
Right.
So when I read those numbers back to you, it was strictly to indicate that there's already evident consensus for 2 of the candidates. It doesn't dictate that you necessarily have to go that way. That's, I mean, it's, you have not, even now, you haven't taken a formal vote yet.
Can I address Mr. Smith's question?
Go
Is this my
Well,
motion?
the maker
You
of
got
the
a motion, you got a motion on the floor.
The
though,
maker
sir.
of the motion usually gets to speak first, but you were so adamant. Go ahead.
My motion is not that we not consider anybody else. My motion is that we offer these two candidates second interviews. If somebody else on the board wants to make another motion that we interview other candidates, they can make that motion.
They cannot.
They can't.
Actually, there's a motion on the floor.
That
No, no, no.
was-
I'm sorry,
Trustee
not
Smith.
while the
No,
motion is
no, no,
pending.
Correct.
After. All right.
And so the motion could be
Yeah, your
shot
motion-
down and then another motion could come, but there is a motion on the floor. What is your point of order?
What Mr. Klein said about someone could offer a motion for another candidate,
That's right.
I would suggest that doing that in the interest of the board, if we're going to put up individual candidates and subject it to a yes or no vote from the board, that would not be advisable for the process that we're going through. There's a clear process and we have it. That won't change the outcome. The only thing it will change is it will put in, just like we don't go through discussing, it would put us in a situation where we would almost necessarily have to start debating the benefits and downsides of individual candidates, which is what we do not want to do in this
Nope.
forum.
Last vote.
Thank you. Hold it. So there's a motion on the floor for two candidates to have a second interview. That's the motion. Is there anyone else that wants to speak to this motion?
But Mrs. Goodfried already seconded that motion.
Right.
The motion's been made in second. We're at discussion. So if there's someone who wants to discuss this motion, the time is now.
That's right.
Okay. No additional discussion on these two candidates. Okay, Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Evan,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Lunkins,
Yes.
and Smith.
No.
Okay, the motion passes. Is there anything else on selection of finalists for Superintendent of Park Schools?
Say it again.
You said that.
Is there anything else on this topic? Okay, we're past this topic. Additional discussion, next steps in the superintendent search process. Mr. Silveri.
All right, so we have, in the timeline that you folks had established, that we had established together, you've got 2 dates set for the next round. That is next Monday and Wednesday, right? So immediately after this meeting, before I even leave the site, just so you know, I'll be calling all 7 of the candidates you interviewed. I'll be breaking the bad news to the 5 that you did not select and the 2 that you did. I will be getting them scheduled on one of those 2 dates.
Do you recall the time? Because it's saying 7. I don't.
No.
There's a reason for that. Yeah, there is.
Okay,
We
yeah.
deliberately went later for second interviews because, remember, we bring in the candidates in during the day. We need to have them
I
go through
remember
that
that.
schedule, meeting with stakeholders, give them a kind of a dinner and a rest break before then they come back and meet with you. So to have all that happen in a timely fashion, we typically have the second interview with the board later. Remember, you folks, though, for you, it'd be a long day for the candidate, and I'll be here as well, but for you, you're going to be here at 7 for the second interview. It can be up to 80 minutes. That's it. Just the one interview on each of those nights for you.
Is this the time now then that you want us to choose our questions?
Well, let's start with, yes, but let's start with, there's 2 things we have to decide. One being the presentation topic. Remember, we talked about them beginning with a presentation on a topic of your choice. As a reminder, it gives you a chance to see their presentation style for one, but it's also a deeper dive into a topic of interest. So it's a chance for you. It's something you want to hear them speak to more in depth than a typical 3 to 4 minute interview response. Here's a chance to hear for up to 20 minutes on a particular topic. So it could be something near and dear to your hearts. It could be something, again, that comes from the candidate profile that you're looking for. I heard several of the candidates ask you about what your priorities are, right, and you spoke to that. It could be surrounding something there. So I've given you a heads up to begin to think about that. Hopefully you did. And it's okay to talk about this openly because when I contact the candidates, I want to be able to tell them. They don't have much time to prepare, right? This Thursday night, and the first one's going to be up on Monday. So I want to be able to share that with them. So having said that, maybe just to begin by throwing out options and then to see if we can come to consensus, so.
Just a quick question before we do that.
Yeah.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Real quick. How many questions?
Oh, for the second round, typically, it's
By each board member?
2 to 3.
Okay.
In total, we look at about 14 to 16, so it would be 2 to 3 for each board member.
Okay.
I'd invited you to identify maybe up to 3 to 4, just because there may be some overlap too.
So my question, I'm sorry, were there any other questions relative to the process? I have a quick question on the topic for presentation. So is it the same topic for both candidates, right?
Yes,
Okay, I
yes.
just want to make sure. It seems like we do everything.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I just
Yes.
want to confirm that. Okay. Did you have a question about this?
I got a motion I want to make.
Now is not the time for that motion, unless it's relative to which topic it is.
It's candidate, it's interview candidates.
Okay, that, we passed that, so you're gonna have to get to that later on. If you wanna make a motion, you can do that later, but we're on to something else now. So we are at additional discussion, next step in the superintendent search process. And so, that being the case, we're trying to figure out now what the discussion topic is.
All right.
All right. Trustee Hood.
So I think, and this is something that Ms. Bailey, who's in the audience, who used to sit here next to me, really has talked a lot about, and I think it's something it continues to be a focus for us, is consistent attendance, both for students and staff. And so I would like to hear a presentation on how to increase consistent attendance with students and staff.
Students and-
And staff,
Oh, thank you.
consistent attendance of students and staff.
Are there any other options for, are there any other,
I just have a question for Mr. Flores.
go ahead.
Okay, you said attendance for staff and students. Could you ask them to put in what other things would you use for students? Because students' attendance is going to be different than what our adults is. What else because remember we talked about one time of some students starting later. I mean.
I
that's
think
part of it.
that's the kind of thing that would be up to the candidate to
For a
present
answer.
ideas. If that's one of their ideas to
Yeah.
start later,
Yeah.
that might be something they present us. But
Okay.
I would like to hear, honestly, my mindset in these interviews is we are gonna finish at some point with one candidate, but we get to keep all the ideas. So as many ideas as we can get from well thought out, excellent people about how to tackle this issue, I think we're better off as a district. I also
Okay.
think this is a good topic.
Any other suggestions on that? I know I saw your hand, so go ahead.
Okay,
Principal.
I feel the attendance, I feel it, but I feel more that pre-COVID and, attendance I hear it, but I also hear the education, the student achievement, because we're not there, I'm just trying to prioritize, because attendance is very important. I have perfect attendance for the last 10 years, so I do know it's very important. But I know the social emotional issues that children have gone through for the last 3 years and probably still going through it. And I believe that it's, more on the, I don't want to say really curriculum, but based on achievement for the students, because they lost so much. And to just kind of regain, like the programs or, speaking.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is a presentation on addressing learning loss post-COVID.
Correct.
Okay, so I'll change what I had increased student achievement, so learning loss.
Learning like
Close.
our budget, but I
Co-
know
I-
that.
And I wonder,
Talk about
if I could, are you done?
I was wanting you to repeat that for Ms. Greer, she didn't hear me.
Addressing learning loss post-COVID. And I was getting ready to say, I wonder if somehow, I know we only got 20 minutes though, but if that's a broad enough topic where increasing attendance can fall under that umbrella,
Yeah.
but, you only had 20 minutes, and they could go 20 minutes on all of it, so.
Yeah, and I think in terms of our student performance, I think something that we've heard a lot from our teachers is the biggest frustration for them is when they're working hard to bring students up and then they're not there and they're missing large sections. That significantly impacts what we're seeing in student performance. But I think the learning loss topic is also great.
I was literally in Oak Park High School today and saw a student get scolded for his attendance.
Go where?
Did it work?
It was, I don't know. But, I mean, he was there, but it wasn't that he was skipping school. He just wasn't where he was supposed to be all week. So, and so I did see that. So I saw it firsthand. I'm like, oh, good grief. Anyway, Trustee Smith.
Yeah, so I think one of the topics, that should be discussed in here is definitely culture and climate. Right now, we have both our staff and our students that, are in disarray. They're I actually spent some time with the kids today, sat down and had some pizza with them, talking with them, and I talk with them, on different occasions. And the culture in the school, it's not right now where I feel it should be. I think we need to, have some conversation in regards to that, have them do a presentation of that. Teachers, right now we have a pilot keg. Right now, we do not have, there's a missing number of math teachers. We don't have a certain number of math teachers, algebra teachers, advanced math teachers. We don't have math teachers in the school district, that's a concern, and, it seems like the recruiting process for them is not up to par right now, that we're not getting that what we need. I asked the kids today, do you have a school song? There's no school song in this district. There's not a motto, well, there's a motto, but right now, it's not that full, Oak Park pride that's going on right now. So I think something needs to be done towards that.
Thank you. Trustee Klein, did you speak on this topic already?
I did not.
Did you have something to say?
I do, but if somebody else wants to go first, I'm happy to go last. I don't.
Well, everyone other than yourself and Trustee Goodfriend has spoken, so.
Did you want to speak?
Okay. So.
First of all, I don't mean to detract at all from the topics that have been proposed. I think that they're excellent, they're forward-looking. I want to suggest a topic that comes from a different angle. These topics are resolution-based. How would you address a problem kind of prospectively? I want to suggest that we can go at a topic that would help us understand the candidate more introspectively. And to that, I want to look at question number 7 that we asked each of these candidates. What is the most difficult decision that you have had to deal with in your educational career, and how was it resolved? In the 2 or 3 minutes, I didn't feel like I got a great answer. Not that they could have done better, but there was a very short amount of time. I would like to hear the candidates really discuss a very high pressure cooker situation that they were in and how they resolved it, because that is what I expect our superintendent to deal with.
So to your point, both of our candidates, if I'm not mistaken, said the same thing.
With the exception of one.
That's right.
No,
With the exception of one.
The remaining 2 candidates as of now, if I'm not mistaken.
One said
Angel's
He
supposed
did.
to have COVID.
Yeah, he said
Okay,
post-COVID,
all right,
right?
You're right. I take that back.
Angel said the most
Expulsion.
difficult.
Yep,
They
and
took
I
him
heard-
on
Honestly,
expulsion.
that shocked me that we didn't get 7, that one.
But I heard,
I was expecting him to say that.
Gentlemen, I can't hear you because you're all talking.
Angel's most difficult decision was interviewing here
you.
while loving Madison Heights. And I always, sorry.
I remember her. I don't remember.
And Dr. Postel's was expulsion of a student. Even if it's not that question, something introspective to tell us about something that the candidate has done, and show us concretely, as opposed to, well, I think that this could work, I think that this could work. Give me a situation where you have been and what you did to improve that situation. So, for example, even if we are very interested in the topic of academics, raising it, I think it's a great topic. How exactly did you raise academics? Tell me how you did it there, and why it would work here. I want to know more than just the theory. I want to know about the candidate and how the candidate operated in prior situations. That's my suggestion.
Okay. So we've got like 5.
Do you need something more concrete than that?
I think I get it.
Okay.
We're we got 5. We've got increase, attendance with student and consistent attendance with student and staff, increased student achievement, relative to, addressing learning loss post-COVID. So I guess that's 4. Culture and climate, and then what was your most difficult challenges you had to address?
Sure.
Something of that nature.
Or speak about a difficult challenge, if you want to do it that way. That way they don't have to come back and remember what they said to us last time around.
All right, a difficult challenge. All right, so that's 4 now. Is there anyone who put one up there for discussion that wants to remove it in lieu of something else, or are we gonna sit here and debate the 4?
Well, let me add one thing if I can,
Go for it.
just to make clear, what you certainly can do is have a question, whatever topic you settle on as the kind of broad, more in-depth discussion topic. You can have an interview question where you won't go so far in depth, but you can still have questions on the other 3 topics, second questions. So it's not that you have to eliminate 3 of these ideas, but you're going to pick one of them to hear about very in-depth. The other 3 we can work a question around so that you hear them speak to that too.
Anyone with thoughts?
I think that we can amalgamize several of those into a broad question that gives the person a lot of latitude on what to talk about. They have 20 minutes, it's a long time.
It's a short amount of time. 20 minutes is
Yeah,
nothing.
when you got 4,
It's not a
5
PhD
topics.
dissertation, but it gives time to hit the points.
Okay, what are you proposing?
For example, we could say to the person, speak about an experience that you had that was difficult in your educational career, or speak about how you have addressed culture, climate, and scholastic achievement issues in your career, and how you would apply those lessons forward in leading our district.
I mean, that addresses 2 of them.
I'm trying to get through.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions that I asked.
She did answer that, but I understand,
Yeah.
you know, with the second round, bringing that back up. So I do understand putting, you know, collaborating those 2 together. But again, actually, all of those topics is broad, you know, and especially, you know, what Oak Park is suffering from. So based on their risk or their challenges, I was just trying to see how would that fit into what Oak Park is doing, you know, right now, or what we need right now, but that's what I was thinking.
So, to me, there's a different function of interview questions and a presentation. To me, right, the function of a presentation is really about having almost a rehearsal, a dry run. We should see an example of what it would look like to have this person as superintendent. And listen, I'm a therapist, I spend my whole day with introspection, I'm all for introspection. But for the purpose of this, I think that for me, and I think learning loss is a great topic as well. I think either one of them, whether it's learning loss or attendance, I think either one would be a good topic to see 2 presentations on and see how they approach problem solving. What's the information they use to do that? I think with culture and climate, it's a very important topic. It's a very big challenge but addressing culture and climate is something you can, and both candidates talked about this, you can only really do it once you're here and understand that. It's not something that someone's going to be able to give, whatever they say to us 3 days from now, on Monday, or 4 days from now, whatever it is not going to be their plan when they come in on day 1 for the job. So for me, I think, but I still lean towards attendance because learning loss is not gonna be possible without consistent attendance. That's like step one, basis. We can't succeed as a school district if the kids are not coming here.
That's right.
Our kids are not gonna come here if their teachers aren't here consistently. So that's for me, the basis of it, but I think, that, those are my thoughts on those things.
Trustee Corcoran?
I want to say that I totally agree, but back then, you know, we didn't have this COVID thing, and now it's just such a huge topic, so I think bringing that, you know, as second is detrimental, because attendance, you can't do anything if you don't have the people or the children, so that's what I want to say.
Does that mean you're throwing your support behind the attendance piece?
I
or
am throwing my support behind both.
behind both?
Yes,
Okay.
and a culture, you know, it does come later, but I guess I'm, you know, I want to hear what's next, because I think that would go into what would
Can I
be
throw
next.
something out? Say, what if you ask a question, and we'd have to work on it, but something about kind of post-COVID, how would you increase student engagement, and how would you go about increasing student engagement and student achievement? Student engagement, I think it's not attendance exactly, but it's related to that.
That's right.
And it's also very closely related to student achievement. You're not going to get achievement unless you've got your kids in school and engaged.
I think it's a piece, I think our attendance issues are more than just engagement, but I would be okay with that.
I'll go
See,
with
I-
attendance. If it's attendance.
Trustee Gifford?
I happen to agree with Menachem, and I don't always agree with Menachem. However, I'm shocking, right? It's 12 years. But the point of the matter is that if our staff has to provide the proof of attendance to encourage the students to attend. So what I'm saying to you is, well, she's not coming today anyhow, so what difference does it make? Or he's not coming today because he won't be there for a couple of days, he's taken off. Rather than no punishment for the staff, I think that's immature. It's just immature, we can't punish him, so we're not gonna pay you. So we're gonna dock you, so what? That's what the thought is, so what? Okay? The point of it is what can encourage our staff to show our students they're there for them. I think that's the whole key, that when they're there, waiting for them, and there's an empty room, well, it's not fair.
I will throw this in, that I think a question about increasing consistent student and staff attendance, kind of inherently, you're asking about culture and climate.
That's right,
I mean, you really are, because ultimately,
exactly.
what are you going to do to have people want to be here? Have students want to be present in school, have staff members want to be present at work? A big part of that really is about the culture and climate of your district. I don't know that that's how they'll answer the question, but I would be surprised if it wasn't at least a part of that.
And what I would be looking for, and I don't know if they're watching or they will be watching later, and maybe, but what I would be looking at also, because part of that is absolutely, do I feel engaged in school?
Right.
Another part of that is there are students who do feel engaged in school, who want to be here, but for whatever reason, they're not able to be here. And how do we meet those needs as well? So that, I think that's, all of those take into it, and what I want to see, what I will be looking for is your approach broad, understanding enough of our culture and our reality to address that. Those are the things. So that's the answer for if any of the candidates are watching, we gave the answer to the test. If that ends up being the test.
It sounds as if there's increased support on the attendance piece. Is there any additional support on learning loss? Is it
It's
something
a
that
fine topic.
is it something we need to pass a motion on, or?
No, you really don't.
Can we do, kind of like we did with the candidates, where we can give
Sure.
numbers to these things, and then whichever number gets the best, I will make the motion.
Obviously, that's why I was asking, do we need to pass a motion?
You really don't, for something, a topic like this, you don't really have to have a motion or a
So,
formal vote.
Trust, I'll just start
You
here.
can do an informal.
Trustee Goodfriend, your thoughts? What is your
Which is your favorite?
what's your favorite choice?
My favorite of
Which you said, you just said it, but for
presentation.
the record.
Well, I happen to agree with Mrs. Salvetti, is how to put it. Okay, I think that's really important. We have to do it, we're talking adult to adult. What are you, as the adult, the superintendent to be possibly, would do to initiate, to invite the attendance of first year staff and have that rub off on your students and families?
I know we started another process. Can I make a suggestion that might bring this together?
Go ahead.
Maybe wording it as a presentation about how would you increase consistent student and staff attendance after 2 years of COVID, when many students may feel so far behind from the learning loss. Something along those lines?
That's good.
That sounds good to you? Trustee Klein?
I'll throw my hat in, sure.
We heard it from you, Trustee Smith.
Yeah, I'm
Okay. Trustee Watkins, Trustee
Yeah.
Corcoran, by me, so we can, if you want to wordsmith that a little
I'll
bit.
wordsmith a bit, but basically, how would you increase consistent student and staff attendance after 2 years of COVID loss?
Learning loss.
Learning loss, thank you.
We still going through COVID loss.
Okay?
COVID.
All right.
No, we
One
still
second.
going- no, we still going
Okay.
through COVID.
So,
What else?
interview questions, and I'm going to make a suggestion to try to expedite this. And one of the things we don't want to do, going back to, people could be watching, is we don't want to out loud kind of state, here are the questions we want to ask. But hopefully you've got your binder. If you've got your
Yep.
binder under tab 4,
Yep.
there's a menu of potential interview questions, and I hope you had a chance to review those. So if we could do this, if I go through this and ask, I'll go category by category. If I get to a category and you say, I'm interested in asking number whatever it is, I'm going to circle it, right? And then it stays anonymous, but we good with that?
I think it's a great idea. We're just gonna have to find a way to whittle it down in case, based on.
We may have to, sure. So let's see where we land after doing that. Go ahead, question.
Can I email you mine?
Well, let's see where this leads, and if
Okay,
we need to
cool.
follow up, we'll talk about that a little bit, sure, no
Okay.
worries. It's not even a requirement necessarily that each of you says, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 questions. That was just an invitation to get you engaged. So as long as collectively we identify questions, we're good. So let me just ask you this. Are you okay with the opening question that you see there? I like it, but I don't know if you do.
First one,
Very first one.
I like
So now I got the stipulation.
The opening
Opening questions.
Opening question for second round?
These are the same questions that we initially picked from.
Nope, these are different.
These are second one. Let me see here.
I like it.
What it should say at the top is menu of potential interview questions.
Can I go over and
Yes, please, because
hear the,
interview process question, next step.
Same line, number 4.
Under tab 4, hopefully you have it. Not, we'll copy what we got. Do you not have it?
it's here.
It's the same.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go, thank you.
It's the same question that we
Second
started
round.
last time.
No, that's different.
Okay,
So
yeah, I'm
are
definitely,
you talking
that's
about
definitely.
opening questions, which is the first one,
Under number 4,
interviewing processing questions.
Under menu of potential interview questions, what I'm asking is where it says opening questions, second round. Are you comfortable
Yeah.
with?
It looks like different board members got different binders. Take a look at what.
Really?
Or set up differently?
Yeah, I think we noticed that.
Okay.
You're not looking at this?
No.
Let me see what you've got, 'cause let's,
Do you have, for number 1, since declining?
Since the.
Tell me, since deciding, I'm sorry?
There you go. This is,
those are
Yeah,
conditional.
no, we have them.
that's number 4.
Yeah, it's,
Here we are.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
yeah.
He has.
Yeah.
thank you.
You should have 2 sets of questions.
Right.
We've already hacked away at the first one, we're
Oh,
going to the second.
Since deciding, I'm sorry.
Okay,
That's okay.
okay.
We all want to be on the same page, that's cool.
Thank you, that's good.
So
Is number
if,
1 good by everyone?
Works for me.
opening question?
Oh,
I think it's a nice opener.
It's fine.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So let me just, again, we'll keep it simple, we don't have to debate. Are there, under district relations,
5.
anybody have an interest? So one person's saying interest in
Number
number
five.
5.
Number
We have
5.
number 2.
Number 2, some interest in,
District
I like
relations.
number 2 as well.
under district relations. So there's some interest in 2 and 5.
Yeah, 5 is critical, that's paramount.
Under political awareness, is there interest in any of those?
I agree.
If not, that's okay too, we don't have to have any number from a particular category. Any interest under political awareness? No?
Number
But they
6.
spoke about most of these already.
6?
6, yes, 6, definitely.
6? Okay.
This one?
I think 6 and 5 from the previous, I know they're not exactly the same, but
You think they're
I
too similar?
think there's a nexus there where we could just do one of those. We're already doing 5.
Oh, I see, I see. Under district relations, 5 and then 6, you think there's similarity and maybe,
There's a nexus there. I'm not saying they're the same, but could we, would anybody
I'll see if there might be a way to,
Amalgamate them.
look at number 5 from the
Yeah,
previous?
5 has like.
I think there's a correlation.
Inclusive.
I can,
Encompasses-
Yeah, but just in case they didn't get an understanding number 5, I'm gonna go along with 6.
and I can work to see if there's a way to combine them and get to both. I think there probably is.
But I still think, like, isn't there something else we should ask them on the political awareness? If we're already hitting school of choice on number 5 from the previous section, should we ask them something else?
Let's do this, Al, if you're okay with it, let's keep going and see kind of what number we end up with. 'Cause
Fair enough.
I really don't feel like you have to necessarily
Fair
worry
enough.
about the categories. And you got a boatload to choose from under leadership, so which ones of those grab you?
11 and 16 stood out for me.
11 and 16,
Under leadership?
under leadership.
I like number 2, even though it's kind of general and a little cliche.
Okay, number 2.
I like 11.
Okay, I got 2, 11, 16 so far. Anybody else?
10.
10? All right. Instruction and curriculum.
Where do we end up with on leadership, 10, 11?
Well, for now, I'm just kind of identifying, we'll see where the number lands. We got 2, 10, 11, and 16 people expressed interest in.
Number 1.
And number 1 there as well?
I choose number 7.
7.
Walk to walk and talk to talk.
7?
All right.
Number 6
For leadership?
for instruction and
Thank you.
curriculum.
6 for instruction,
Oh,
okay.
number 9.
9 instruction and leadership? Or in curriculum, rather?
There you go, there's your,
I'm going to throw
there's
them
your
out. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Oh, we're on instruction.
instruction and curriculum.
Did you
There's your,
get number 7?
look at number 9.
Under instruction and curriculum?
Under leadership.
Uh-huh.
Under leadership, I did,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, there it is. Tell me, you can't get away from it.
10.
I like
so
11.
11,
Which one are yellow on?
instruction and curriculum.
But wouldn't that kind of come with those 90 days?
10, 14, and 15
I like 15.
15,
in instruction and curriculum.
I heard 14.
10, 14, and 15.
What are they going to want us to be looking at?
Well, we'll narrow this down. For now, just name the ones you're interested in, we'll go back. All right, so far, under instruction and curriculum, 6, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15. We won't be able to ask all of them, but that's where there's interest. Flip the page, what about finance and operations?
Number 5.
Finance.
I like 5.
Okay.
The next one.
Vision?
Number 5.
What did you say? That's number 5?
You guys practiced that, it sounds like.
I like number 3, but I think it's good in finance.
I know I'm moving quickly, but staff and
Okay.
personnel,
Number 2.
2?
Number 4.
In finance,
Four.
in finance, can you add 3?
We're still on
Sure,
vision,
of course.
No, no.
We're on staff
We're on
personnel?
staff personnel.
Yeah, number 4.
I got 2 and 4 so far.
Number 4.
We're in staff personnel.
Number
already?
four.
Don't let me get in the way of it.
Yeah,
Some DAP.
okay, DEI?
Number 1.
7 and 11.
Number 1, 7, 11. Anything else jump out?
So again, the number 1 on DEI is akin to number 2 on staff and personnel. There's a nexus there.
So you saying don't forget number 1?
No, I'm just saying, let's pick one of those when we get to the time we got.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, there is some similarity there. Let's remember that. Communication,
1 and 9.
Yeah, I definitely don't want.
1 and 9. And closing questions, you don't need to ask them, but you're certainly able to. Either of those 2 closing questions you want to roll with?
I didn't like either, so
That's okay.
in terms of, if we're counting down questions, I think.
There are others more
I don't
important.
see how anyone's gonna answer either of those questions.
No, you said number 2.
In any
No,
way.
In
softballs.
closing questions? Yeah, number 2.
I got
What
you.
concerns do you have about this position? I think, right.
Well,
Not
Trustee
for-
Smith, you're right, yeah. I got you, no, I got you.
Now, if we put people under oath, that might be.
All right, so we've got, I'm just going to count them up. 1, 2,
23.
3, 4, how many?
20, I count 23.
23, okay. So we needed to shave it down. We can, in terms of the time, we can go up to about 60 minutes for questions. So normally, the most I've asked, and they've gone fairly quickly, we can probably get 16 to 17 in if we really want to push. So you said 26, so we'd have to get rid of at least 9 of them?
23.
Or 23. So if we went with 17, we only got to drop 6.
We got like 4, 6 of them are in instruction and curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we noted a couple that were close in proximity.
On diversity,
Any on instruction and curriculum that you feel comfortable? Maybe there's another one that's similar, dropping?
We had 6, 9, 10, 11, 14, and 15.
Yep.
and what, which?
Which one?
Instruction and curriculum, we need to shave this down a little
And
bit. So
leadership, we have 6 as well.
probably good that those are the 2 categories we try to pinch.
Are 11 and 15 very similar?
11 in leadership and 15 in
No,
instruction.
11 in instruction and curriculum and 15 in instruction and curriculum.
I like 11 better. They're
Oh,
not
I
the
see.
same, but I like 11 better than 15.
How are those the same? I don't think they're the same. In instruction and curriculum, 11 or 15?
They're not the same, they talk about the same thing, they're not the same, but I like 11 better than 15. If we had to cut one, I would cut 15.
I think 15 is very important.
Why would rather have 11?
Well, 15 ultimately, I would just say is going to be your call anyway, right?
That's right.
It's your decision. You
That's
might-
kinda why I
Not to
said-
say it's not interesting to hear what the potential superintendent thinks about it. I'm not dismissing it. I think it's a good question, but if we're picking and choosing,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so for my thought, in terms of, and again, at the risk of, I think in both 10 and 14, 14 is something we have not asked any candidates about yet, and it's something I noticed in the process, and it's important.
It's important.
I think we should leave for you.
We spoke
a lot about
Yeah.
that.
We had
We spoke a lot about that.
That was,
But anyway,
who spoke?
so that's something I really feel is important, and then I guess 10 is something that that either will come out in other questions or not.
And 11, you mean?
No,
10
it's 10.
you know, he's
Obviously,
suggesting we
10 is one
can,
that's important to me, but I think it'll come, I think we can drop it because it'll hopefully,
Oh, man.
either the candidates will talk about another question, or they won't, in which case,
gotcha.
So we're dropping 10. Are we dropping 11 or 15?
10 and 15 is what I heard that we would drop.
15?
So we're keeping 11.
Yep,
Yeah. So we got 6, 9, 11, and 14 there.
okay. What about leadership? Again, we want to
We
drop at
got
least a
6
couple
under
of those.
leadership. Does anybody think we should?
Any of these that you think could be
We've got
redundant or?
1, 2, I've got 1, 2, 7, 10, 11, and 16
Yep,
On what?
for leadership.
Oh, that's here.
I think both 11 and 16 are very important. Very important parts of the job.
so you would not want to drop those.
I would know.
Okay, any others that you feel like there's no way we should be dropping this question, that
I
you
said
really?
there's 7. I mean, it's a question to ask.
I think that will come out,
I think they've already
as they
addressed
discuss
that.
everything, I think that will come out, number 7, where they walk the walk. I think we're gonna hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were
You
the other
okay
ones
with
we were
dropping
looking at?
seven?
I'm sorry.
So now we're down to, it looks like if we keep 11 and 16, we already identified 1, 2, and 10. We'd still be looking at to maybe eliminate one of those at least.
And I think we can drop 1 because it's kind of cliche.
Okay.
We know
Or maybe 1 could be
Right.
our opening question.
Closing question?
Opening or closing, it could be either one, but yeah.
All right,
I
could
like
be.
our
I think
opener.
I
Okay.
think the closing would be best, that would be your final,
I mean, I think each of the,
finalization.
especially Dr. Hostel, really hit that one hard already, number 1.
Okay.
Oh,
So that
we
leaves
could-
us
That
with-
could be, to me, 1 could be closer, instead of in lieu of the 2 that Menachem didn't like.
But that wasn't,
Well, we didn't even
we
circle
don't have a
those.
closer right now.
It would still leave
I
us,
was gonna say, it could be,
Yeah,
that could be the last question.
okay.
I'll add that in, but there's going to be one more we're going to need to drop, which is fine.
Do
So
you
you're
like
saying
the
11 would be the
opener better than
closing?
that?
Oh, no.
I do. We can leave it, we can use that other one, we can cut this one out, we can use the first one, the other one. not this.
Use number,
Number 1
number 1 from leadership as the opener.
as the opener. I'm fine with it.
Okay, you're trying like heck to confuse me, but it's not working. I'm with you. Okay,
How many is that? 1, 2, 3 we've cut?
we can
Oh,
cut 4.
We've cut
Under
4,
leadership,
so we're down to 19. No, in total, we've
Oh.
cut 4.
So
So
we
we
got
need to cut
couple
like
more.
3 more,
I'd say if we can combine at least 2, we'll probably be okay.
2 more.
If we cut the opening question, isn't that 5 that we've cut?
But we
No,
replaced it with
that's
another
4,
one.
Replace it with something else.
We placed with 1 that was already on the list. One in leadership was already on the list.
But we can't cut that, we can't say it's cut, because we're keeping
Right,
it.
no,
So-
okay.
So 1, 2, 3,
Well, we talked about too, combining 5 under district relations with 6 under political awareness, so that would get it down too.
I ain't even had that one, that's 24.
Oh. 3, let me see what I got. 4, 7, 9, 10. I'm showing us still at 21.
So we had, I'll go through with you initially, we had 1 in the opening, 2 and 5 from district relations,
Right.
6 from political awareness, which I didn't have. Leadership was 1, 2, 7, 10, 11, and 16. Instruction and curriculum was 6, 9, 10, 11, 14, and 15. Finance and operations were 3 and 5.
Can I suggest that 2?
Oh, I didn't have 3, I had just
2 in
5.
district relations and 2 in leadership are pretty similar.
Then we've got,
2 in leadership and 2 in district relations.
Yeah, there's some similar, I would agree with that.
I like the 2 in district relations, you want to cut out.
Like that one better?
Cut out
okay.
the leadership.
So we'll drop 2 in leadership?
Yeah, all right with anyone else?
not, did we go past that?
are we
in
using 1
personnel?
as the
No, not
opener?
yet.
No,
Okay.
we're
No,
still
we're
trying to
using-
cut from earlier, so,
We're using
we're gonna
this
cut
as the
number
opener.
2 in
Yeah.
leadership,
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay? And we're gonna keep number 2.
in instruction.
in district relations.
Yeah. Okay.
What else was it, what else did we have? And then we were gonna combine 5 and 6?
5 under district relations and 6 under political awareness. So on page 1, let's kind of go that way. We'd have 3 questions
And which,
from that
On
page.
page 1.
2, wait, we have
It's-
Page 1,
2
2
and then,
5, and
2 and
6.
5 from district relations and 6 from political awareness.
Yes.
no, because we're combining
I'm
5.
saying I'm going to combine 5 and 6.
Correct. So if we're
Under
gonna
what
combine
district?
those in some way,
Now we have 2 from the first
5 and
page.
so that's 2.
Okay.
Oh, you got, no, you've got 3. You've got,
DEI gets like a page.
oh, I know what you're doing. I kind of thought about moving, I got you. You're
So
right. We
somehow
have-
we're combining five for district relations and 6 for political awareness.
You're right.
Do that.
Okay.
So that's 2 on the first page.
I'm with you.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the second page.
I've got 3.
You're
I'm showing
keeping-
10, 11, and, 4 because we're keeping 1 moving it. You're right.
That's right, so that's the opener, right? So we're gonna keep
Yep,
that. So
yep,
1, 2,
yep.
3,
You're
4.
right.
So what are the 4 on leadership? 1,
1, 10, 11, 16.
Yes.
okay.
You with me, Dawn?
1, 10, 11, and 16?
Yes.
Yep, but we're moving 1 to be the opening question.
Now, the instruction,
And then now we're in instruction and curriculum, and we have 6, 9, 11, and 14.
Yep.
So that's
oh,
4.
and 14.
That's 10 right now.
Now,
Finance and operations, I have 3 and 5.
I had just 5, but, so maybe I missed one.
Yeah, it was
Did somebody advocate for 3?
I thought we really asked 3 the first go around.
I think we did.
But, or something akin to it.
I think we did. I think it's very similar.
Quite frankly, I think 3 is more important
We
than
did.
5. They
You
talked-
do?
Because they talked about 5 in the last time around.
All right,
But
so,
they didn't really talk about 3.
That's right,
all right, so we want to keep 3 and not 5.
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So you got 1
Man, you
in finance,
Disagree with
Mhm.
that. That's just my take.
So we got 3 in, number 3 in finance, we got 5 in vision, and we got on staff and personnel 2 and 4.
I've got 3 and 5 under vision.
You have
I
3.
didn't have 3 and 5, I only had 5.
We just had 5? If you're okay with that, I'll strike 3.
5 is good with me.
what, staff?
5 in
In vision.
vision,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good, okay.
And
Good.
what about staff?
So we've, okay, and then under staff and personnel,
Is 2
You got
and
2
4.
and
2
4?
and 4.
Yeah.
So we've got 1, 2, 4.
Oh, is there a concern that we're only focusing on the board here under vision? Is that what your concern is?
Pardon me?
Did you have a concern with us just doing number 5 under
vision.
vision?
And
Yeah,
then
we
we,
had vision.
Are you okay with, you're good,
Yeah.
okay. So,
I am.
all right, so we got 4, I'm sorry, on staff and personnel, we got 2 and 4.
Right, so we've got 4 on that
4 on
page.
that one, we're 14. Diversity, equity, inclusion, we had number 1.
I got 1, 7, and 11.
that's
I have
right.
all that.
Don't we do that all the time anyhow?
You got that too?
I have 1, 7, and 11.
I have 7 and 11, yeah.
Okay, so we need to cut something
1,
here.
7, and 11?
That's what initially we identified, yeah.
Oh,
Are we cutting something?
oh, yeah, 7 we've done, without knowledge.
So, this is one where I said 2 from staff and personnel and 1 from DEI.
Oh, yeah, you
Look
did.
the same? Or not the same, but
Similar.
similar.
So that's where we combine those, so we would eliminate 1.
Well, that's interesting.
So I'll work on seeing about combining those two.
I think I'd rather do 1 from DEI instead of 2 from staff and personnel. It's
Right here.
more feet to the fire, I think.
I don't have a preference.
Well, I'll combine number 1
I do
in
also, it doesn't make
DEI
a
with
difference.
number 2 in staff and personnel.
Okay, so that'll become just 1.
Right.
Okay,
Oh,
so,
so we're just gonna use the 1?
Well, he's gonna combine these 2, so.
Oh,
we can-
all right.
Right.
Okay.
We did that once before.
so I'll keep the 4 on that page, I won't count the 1 here. So
There you
we've got
go.
2 on DEI,
7 and
7
11.
and 11.
Right.
Right,
7 and 11.
So that has us at 16.
16,
we're gonna do it here.
I got 1 under communication.
I got 1 and 9.
1, okay, so I have 1
But on
on
this
that
page,
page
Yeah,
and 1 on the next page. That's,
you got it.
so that
You
gets
got
us
it.
to
I got 1 and 9.
18.
Yeah.
That's pushing it?
Well, it may be a little bit. I mean, it's a judgment call. They may be able to get through it. Here's what I find though, I'll be honest with you, from experience, what I tell the candidates is they're gonna have 80 minutes and a hard stop at 80, right? That what they should plan on is about 20 for a presentation and about 60 for the interview questions. Where I find, and I let them know, obviously if you go longer with presentation, less for, I find candidates typically struggle to keep the presentation under 20. If anything, they're running long, it leaves less time for questions, so we might be pushing it a little bit. I mean,
So we
maybe,
got 90
You
minutes?
want, you want more time
we usually
for
go with 80.
question.
I mean, we could extend it.
What's 10 minutes?
That's what I do.
You got, so you want, so here's the,
That's what
I
I would
like
do.
80 minutes.
then we need to cut a question.
That's fine.
Okay.
Let's,
No, we're gonna be here anyway, so make it 90 minutes.
they've already,
Call the question if you want to
Right.
ask a question. I'll let y'all figure that part out.
I'd rather.
Uh-huh.
I'm fine either way, honestly.
I'm fine with 90 minutes.
What do you think?
Close my eyes.
See, because there
I'm gonna print
again,
that off.
it may not take 90 minutes. It
Well,
all depends
it's-
on how fast they answer the question.
It's up to 90, and as you saw from the first round, nobody took the full 70.
That's right.
They might,
So-
they
That
might not
was
take the
18
full 90 minutes.
That was 18 questions.
Right.
And we got 18
This
now.
is presentation in 18. So I would say if you tell them they got up to 90, chances are
This is worse than a
You
class.
go
neither one probably will go 90. But if they need to, they'll have that much time.
All right, are we good? Are we good with going 90 minutes?
Amen.
Yep.
Dawn?
I am.
You said which day?
Both days.
It's only 10 more minutes, that's all.
You okay? You okay, Dawn?
Yeah, I'm
That's
good.
Okay,
That's
Trustee
gonna be for
Smith?
Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, so we got our
Fine.
questions. Okay.
That's gonna be for
Okay.
Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, I know, but,
You've got a
You put
majority
them
of
yeah,
together.
states
so-
on this
Yes,
one.
I'll have them ready for you like these.
Trustee Goodfriend is good with 90, so let's go 90.
All right, we got our,
Up
so we
to 90.
so we got our questions, we got our topic.
Got over, but up to it, yeah.
Up
Yeah,
to 90.
I have one last question though, a process question. We need to think ahead
We're starting.
to site visits, which come the following week.
That's right.
And remember, you're talking about 3 of you. Hopefully,
Not-
the same 3 can commit to going to
Now, wait a minute.
both
You're
sites,
taking 3 board members or 3 people?
board members.
Well, I know I won't be able to help.
And Mildred was
I want to, but I won't be
That,
able to come.
the last time we did, it was 3 people. It was myself, Ms. Bailey, and
Because
Ms.
I'm
Peach.
just not trying to work
That went to Birmingham.
And they happen to both be from
Before
there.
that, we had a much larger.
You had Mildred, you
Unless a
had
miracle happens between now and then.
Marie, you, wasn't it,
Good.
with you when you went?
Misty, and then we had a couple
Did
of
Misty
community.
go too?
Yeah.
So that has to happen the next week.
I will tell you this, if you want to ponder that one, if you're willing to, on Monday night,
Would you suggest?
after the interview, we can talk a little bit about site visits. So think about who might be willing to make the commitment. You're talking about a couple of days the following week. Usually it's
Couple
about
days?
3 to 4 hours at each work site.
Okay.
And usually it comes during sometime during the course of the school day. So like between the hours of 9 to 4, you'd have to be able to devote like about a 4-hour chunk of time, one day in one of the districts, one day in the other, or possibly, I guess you'd have to think about the drive time, but possibly have one in the morning, one in the afternoon on the same day. We'd have to think about that.
I think that's what you did when you went to,
But they're both really close.
um,
That's true.
If we're, you know.
You might be able to pull it off.
and you went to Detroit.
Put it more difficult.
I need,
Do you want to think about that one and come back to it? I know.
Yeah, can we come back to that? We put a pin in it?
So, yeah, we can. So Monday night, though, we shouldn't wait any longer than that. After the first interview, let's talk briefly about site visit again. See if we can get a commitment.
Got you.
All right.
All right,
If,
yeah,
you got something?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say in terms of the site visits, I'm not gonna be able to do Monday, we're talking about the following week, right? Okay. I don't know, did we say we're gonna put?
We're putting a pin in that one. We're gonna come back to it on Monday.
No, motion doesn't pass. you
All right, I'm fine.
Is there, go ahead, make your
Yeah,
motion.
I have a motion.
Point of order.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make a
Hold on,
motion.
hold on, there's a point of order.
I
Go.
was just calling.
Oh, order.
Oh.
Yeah.
Make your motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we invite Dr. Sean Black to the second interview.
Can I speak without a second?
No.
Nope, somebody got a second?
Anybody got a second?
A motion is on the
You can
floor.
second it- You can second and then speak.
A motion is on the floor. Is there a second? We waited considerable time for a second.
I'm
There's no second
I'm
motion.
fine. My conscience is clear.
The motion falls. Excuse me, the motion falls because it did not have a second, so
I'm
it
fine
fails.
with it. I put it out there.
Okay. We've come to the point now where the public has an opportunity to address the full board with the understanding that the board cannot respond. Trustee Smith, would you please read the public comment guidelines?
Because the Oak Park Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in the public, we welcome public comment on school issues. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due process for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. The public comment portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or school district employee that disrupts the order of the meeting and are totally unrelated to the manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. Speakers should be aware that if statements violate the rights of the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, such comments may result in legal liability. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not be directed at specific personnel or board members. Okay?
Okay, how many we got?
All right, we have 2.
Okay,
Okay,
first one is?
first one is Crystal Bailey at 8646 Kington Drive.
Ms. Bailey, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening.
So as a stakeholder, community leader, former vice president of the Board of Education of Oak Park, and alumni of our schools, I have attended each meeting during the superintendent search, either physically and or virtually, and I must say our city has been very busy. So much so that the meetings are overlapping with the city of Oak Park, with planning commission meetings and elevating Oak Park recreation. However, here we are with once having a candidate pool of 30+ candidates for a superintendent search, which is outstanding, narrowing it down to 8, which is, after watching all of the candidates, they all have great qualities. However, I vetted them myself with a Google search, and some of them not so qualified morally. We don't need great interviewers who can break the monotony with laughters. We need doers for our students and staff and community. I like having a presentation on attendance. Attendance is very important, as well as culture and climate, but a presentation on attendance, as we've seen with our current district and other districts, it's a national issue of attendance, getting our students in. The students do have to be present to educate them. It's the same thing with it's a national teacher shortage everywhere. So having the teachers be present. So that does have something to do with the culture and climate and engagement. But the presentation on attendance, I would love to see that as well. Dr. Postel, she was my English teacher in 10th grade, and here I am, 40 years old. So I think that is something to see with Mrs. Postel, her communication, her leadership, her curriculum drive, how she coaches teachers. She worked collaboratively with the superintendent as well as collaboratively with the teachers and principals, which is very important. And communication is important, as she said, communication. That is important. And transparency. We definitely need transparency. If something has happened within this district, we need to know immediately, the community and especially the board, and effectively communicate that to us. So that's what I had to say. Again, I'm Crystal Bailey, 8646 Kimberton. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Okay. Next, we have Curtis Daniels at 23487 Parkland Street.
Mr. Daniels, welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome back.
Good evening, y'all.
Welcome back.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I had to pull you a chair over there.
yeah, I'm here. Okay. I would like to say the success of the Oak Park schools, the students, is the most important. The job of the chosen, and whoever will be chosen, is the superintendent for the district of Oak Park schools, to me, is secondary. And when I'm saying that, it means if they're in it for the job, it's not going to work. If they're in it for the success and the career and the fostering of the students, then they're going to be successful. So I would like to see a presentation on the fostering of the skilled trades when the students come up to a grade of about the completion of their graduations into the private sector, into the wider fields in society, that they have other career opportunities that's fostered by our district of the Oak Park schools. So they have a hands-on with those pre-apprenticeship opportunities within our district. And the reason why I say that, because my union just built a $30 million school in Detroit, which I'm a part of, the 687 Carpenters Union. So by being a resident here, serving for the Oak Park, I would like to see Oak Park students and people take advantage of that school as well, because it's open to them. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public want to address the board? Hearing none. Our next meeting. I'll do it. You're welcome. The next meeting of the board will be held Monday, May 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the boardroom in the administration building. Anything else from members of the board? Ms. Corcoran?
Just two things. I just wanted to go back to when Trustee Smith was talking about the school song. I believe that if you contact our choir director by the name of Demetria Washington, she may be able to help you in that direction. And also, in regards to the math teachers, you're actually correct. We have actually lost some, man, oh boy, I can't even express. We've lost some good math teachers. But unfortunately, perhaps maybe we'll, have some more back. Get some back, rather.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from members of the board?
I'm going to share a quick lesson that I think I've learned from a couple of our candidates. I promise I'll be quick and brief. A lot of our candidates, especially Dr. Shackelford and Mr. Abdullah. Mr. Shackelford, all right, Mr. Shackelford, Mr. Abdullah, perhaps others as well, talked about the power of positivity and always putting that positive light on things. And I would like to see our board take that as well. And that when we're talking about anything in our district that could be improved, we view it through the light of what improvement we can have, as opposed to any sort of angle of something that we're missing. So case in point, not to call anybody out, it just happened to come up just now, that we could use some additional great math teacher candidates. Framing things in that method, I think, can give, starting with us, from the board and outward, that we can add things to our district as opposed to framing it in the light of these are things that we are missing. We have a ton of things to offer. I didn't want to put up yet another potential question for the people to base their presentations on, but one I thought of was, what positive aspects can you tell us that you've learned about Oak Park that you plan to bring to the district?
That was the first opening question.
The positive attributes. And I think that if we all take that, whenever we see something that's missing, it's not a detriment. I mean, you can think about it that in your mind, but when we're talking about it, we got to talk about it as, hey, let's improve ourselves in this manner, as opposed to we have a deficit that we need to address.
It's an opportunity.
Very
So, understood. Just, for me, I just want to thank the board for its diligence, for its work over the past several weeks to get us this far. Lord knows it's been a lot of work, a lot of meetings, and I appreciate all of you for your due diligence and putting the homework in, listening to the members of the public, and everything that you've done to get us to this point. So thank you to all of you for that. All right.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say this, but we have election, we have 2 seats that's coming up. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the last date is July 16th. If you are interested in serving the community on the education board, there are 2 seats that are available. You can register at the election department in Pontiac.
The 16th is a Saturday.
It's
Is
the
it
26th,
The
4
26th.
p.m.
Is it the 26th?
I think so. So I think
Oh.
I think it's 20th. 16th is a Saturday. I know that.
As you said, it's been several weeks,
It's the 26th.
Little tight. The 26th of July by
4 p.m.
4
4 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We good? Anything else?
Yeah, I am ready for the vote.
Okay. We've duly noted. The time is 8:03. If there are no objections, we will adjourn by unanimous consent. Any objection to doing so?
No
Hearing
objection.
none, we adjourn at 8:03. Thank you.